Welcome to Aurelius Whitlock's Murder Museum. Hey, I'm Marcus Richardson.
And I'm Nathan Hicken.
And Nathan, do you want to explain to the poor listener who doesn't know what's going on, what this is and why we're talking in their ears?
Of course. So every time we'll be playing through a murder mystery that one of us has written. One of us will be the detective, and one of us will be the witnesses, the crime, the body, and everything else.
The curator of murder.
Curator, yes.
So we have a little murder mystery podcast here, but we need to get into the murder mood, let's say. So I actually have prepared some mini murders for us to wet our whistle. So Nathan, are you ready for some practice murders?
Oh, I'm so ready for this.
Awesome. So these are taken from this riddle game from the 1980s. I think 1980s?
Oh yeah, I think it's like 1989.
Oh, 1990s. Mind Trap. And we know from personal experience that some of these are garbage.
Yep.
But we haven't read them before, so that means we get to do them together. So here's mini murder number 1. Shadow surveyed the scene. Zach Gusher, what a name.
What?
The famous oil tycoon was found shot to death, of course, while sitting in his car. Shadow was puzzled by the fact that he couldn't find a single trace of gunpowder anywhere in the car. This led Shadow to believe that Zach had been murdered by someone outside the car. The strange part is all the windows and doors were completely closed and locked. The only bullet holes found were on Zach's body. Since the car was not damaged, how did the assassin manage to kill him?
Sunroof?
It says all windows and doors were completely closed. I think sunroofs count as a window, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the person could have been inside the car, shot him while the door was open, closed all the doors.
Oh, yeah, he could have opened the door, shot him, and then closed the door.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's stick with that. It says, your first guess was actually closer to correct. Zach Gusher was in a convertible.
Oh,
he was shot when the top was down.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay.
So, all right.
I count that as a win.
I mean, it didn't say that the door was never open, because it is possible for other people to lock your car when they leave, right?
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. Number 2. The Coast Guard ship pulled over next to the drifting boat from which Sid Shady was frantically waving. The sun was beating down as a hot and perspiring Shady jumped aboard the Coast Guard ship and began begging for water. After several glasses, Shady recounted the last several days. Lance and I were out fishing 6 days ago, when both our engine and radio broke down. We've been drifting out here ever since. 3 days ago, we ran out of water. Lance started to drink the seawater and went crazy. While going below deck, he fell down the ladder, hit his head, and killed himself.
Oh, what?
Shadow examined Lance's body and confirmed that he had indeed died from a blow to the head. Shadow turned to Shady. I dislike how they named their de facto criminal Shady and their de facto detective Shadow. That's annoying. That's
rude.
Annoying and confusing. But Shadow turned to Shady and said, "Based on your account, I believe Lance was murdered. Why?"
Okay.
Here's my guess. It's making a point out of after several glasses of water. I wouldn't be surprised if it's after you haven't drinking for so long, it's impossible to drink large quantities of water without... No, maybe that's not it.
Maybe something about he's perspiring, but if he hasn't had water in 3 days, how does he?
That's got to be it.
Yeah.
That's got to be it. Yeah, he's sweating. He's sweating, so it's like saying, your boat mate clearly wasn't I was about to say starving for water. I think that there is a different word for this. He wasn't thirsty. Okay, is this our guess?
Is there anything else about the body that could you read the body part again?
The body indeed died from a blow to the head. While going below deck, he fell down the ladder, hit his head, and killed himself.
I mean, is the ladder that tall that he could die from a fall?
It doesn't tell us what size the ship is, so
yeah.
I'm feeling like the sweating has got to be it. All right, the answer is Shady said they had run out of water 3 days ago. If that was the case, Shady would have been dehydrated and would have not been perspiring when he jumped aboard the Coast Guard ship.
Yup.
That's a point to Nathan right there. I just realized we'll probably want to keep score. Not actually. I mean, we're all in this together. Number 3, this is our final mini murder before the murder mystery. All right. Shadow and his dog climbed the icy hill to Jed Recluse's cottage. Shadow knocked and then let himself in. The cottage was icy cold. Jed's body was sprawled on the floor in a pool of blood, a single bullet hole in his head. A suicide note lay on the table. It read, "Since I've lost the use of my legs, I have no reason to live. I'm tired of relying on the goodwill of Sid Shady oh boy, to bring me my weekly supplies. I leave my fortune to him." Signed, Jed Recluse. Outside, Shadow could not see the 2 sets of tracks made in the snow by him and his dog. A third set came and went off in another direction. Shadow's dog was happily sniffing the third set of tracks, which led to Shady's home. When Shadow broke the news, Shady cried, "That's unbelievable. I was there 5 days ago." And he was in great spirits. Shadow clenched his cigar and said, "Tell me what really happened. Why is Shady's story doubted?" Maybe because he's flippin' shady? Maybe because his name is Sid Shady? And the real mystery here is how is he not in jail? How is he able to continue to pull this crap?
How does he keep getting out?
Exactly.
I'm sure it's something about...
it's something to do with the snow tracks, but I kind of got lost in reading the text. I'm not exactly sure what I read.
If he's only been there 5 days ago, would the prince still be there?
That's got to be it, right? I think I don't remember if I said could or couldn't, but Shadow could see his 2 sets of tracks made in the snow, and then a third set came off and went in a different direction.
Yeah. Is there anything else about the beginning about the setup? Is it sunny outside or something?
It says icy hill, knocked, let himself in. The cottage was icy cold. Laying in a pool of blood. But does blood freeze at the same temperature as water?
I caught that too. I don't know. My guess is probably not.
I mean, I feel like it's trying to make a point, though, because it does say the cottage was icy cold.
Yeah.
And that might be its way of saying ice cold. And I feel like that means that it's...
just recently died.
It specifically being a pool is not legit.
Yeah. So, he must have visited more recent than that. And... Jed Recluse died pretty recently.
Let's check. Shady was lying about being at Jed's 5 days ago. It was obvious he was there much later since Shadow's dog was sniffing his tracks. Oh, okay. If Shady was telling the truth, the tracks would no longer possess an odor and therefore would have been no interest to the dog. As we all know, odor leaves after 5 days.
How could we forget the classic smell degradation theory?
How could we forget the well-known fact that all smells only can last a maximum of 4 days?
Dang.
Silly us. Well, a bit of a loss there. Man, it's just such a mixed bag. Like, the perspiring one is good. It's fine. The gun one is okay. That one...
yeah. And it's like hard, because one thing, they lie about one thing, and that means they're the murderer. So it's like, oh, okay.
That's what we learned here. If I ever hear a friend say one lie, then I'm like, who'd you kill? What
Basically,
did you do?
I'm going to assume in the murder mystery you've written that everyone is telling the truth, but if they lie, then that means, boom, they did it.
That's enough. That is absolutely enough to establish culpability. If they lie one time in their entire life.
That's it. I'm sorry. You're out.
Well, speaking of my murder mystery, I have as much anticipation as you do, I think. I will be our first murder curator for the podcast. So, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, I will set the scene. So you wander through the dark woods, of course, because it needs to start in dark woods. And actually, I have a few questions for you. You see in the distance a large black marble building that looks like your stereotypical museum fashioned after a Greek model. What would you say this silhouette looks like to you?
Oh, silhouette. I would say multi-storied, tall, strong pillars, light, orange light coming out of the windows, highlight the black outlines of the trees coming up around it. You can just barely see the roof of it, poking over the trees, breaking through. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, outsourcing the exposition, I already know, is way better. All right, so you approach the orange glow of this slightly obscured building, and you arrive at the doors. What do the doors look like?
Huge stone, ornate, carved black doors with hints of ivy and other scenes that have been muddled and worn away by time, so we can't exactly tell what they are. There's a huge knocker on the right side, made of brass.
Nice. Is it just a circular knocker?
It's clearly a head of some sort, but not of any creature we recognize.
Nice. Well, you enter the broad stone double doors that give much easier than you expect. And you walk into a hall with a deep maroon carpet, elegant baseboards with golden trim, and a central atrium full of skylights, where you can see the dark and foreboding sky. I go with my gut. Yeah, it's dark and foreboding, because of course it is. And my last question is, what does it feel like when you enter the museum?
Ooh, you can feel a slight breeze, like there's an open window somewhere, but you can't tell where it's coming from. The air is light, but there is seemingly a layer of dust. It feels empty, almost abandoned, but not quite. It's a little too clean for abandoned, despite the dust and everything. I would say the floor is shiny enough that it squeaks whenever you walk on it, so each step just echoes loudly.
Okay, so I said carpet, you say squeaks.
Oh, sorry.
So
right.
let's nix the carpet, because I like the vibe of your squeaks. Very nice. Well, just as you notice each of these things, you notice immediately to your left a tall man in formal wear. He definitely wasn't there before, and he's within like 1 foot of you.
What?
And he smiles, and he kind of raises his eyebrows at you, and kind of goes, and he says, "Welcome to Aurelius Whitlock's Murder Museum. We're glad to have you here. Our featured exhibit is just down the hall in the center of the atrium."
Oh, the center of the atrium. Okay. I walk nervously towards the atrium, kind of glancing back every now and then to see if he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there, and his eyes are wide and tracking you all the way to what appears to be a painting with a spotlight of sorts shining on it. And this painting is large, and it depicts a picturesque landscape of snowy mountains backlit by a vivid red sunset. It's pretty, but you also might kind of expect to see it in like a dentist's waiting room. It's a little generic. The one unique detail about this painting, though, is there is a thin diagonal black line that bisects the painting from left to right. And as you get closer, there's a little black dot on the center of that line, but it's too small to really make out any details.
Interesting. I'm going to lean a little closer, see if I can essentially zoom in on the painting. What can I make out?
Enhance. That little black dot, you notice it's actually moving across the line, up and down. And this is a painting. It's for sure a painting, because as you get closer, you can see the texture of the paint. You can see the material used. Noticing the dot moving is actually the last thing you remember before your vision goes white.
Whoa.
It swirls around you like a snowstorm, but you don't feel cold. You just feel nothing. Time loses meaning in this white void. After an eternity of emptiness, or maybe just a few minutes, it stops as suddenly as it began, and you're no longer in the museum. Now you're in a log cabin with 3 walls. Where the 4th wall should be is an opening into a snowy mountainside and a bunch of machinery and large cables running into the building. And on the side of the wall, a metal sign inside of the cabin says Redford Peaks Aerial Tramway, and then underneath it, longest open balcony gondola ride in the nation.
Gondolas, yes.
And you are bombarded with sensations. You are cold, it is loud, it is windy outside. And immediately to your left is a smiling man, this time in an officer's outfit, but with the same Cheshire Cat smile that you saw from the man who introduced you to the museum.
Oh.
He leans in close and he says, "Good luck."
What?
And he reaches over and hands you what looks to be a golden pocket watch. He drops it in your hands and says, "If you get stuck, you can get a little help, but it only counts if you solve it."
It only counts if I solve it. Ooh.
You'll figure everything out. I can tell. You're a smart kid. And you blink, and he's gone.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I examine the pocket watch.
It's ornate. It has the same sort of trim as the golden baseboards you noticed within the museum. And also etched in small letters are the words Pocket Watson.
A Pocket Watson. Well, I'm sure that'll come in handy. But for now, I slip it into my pocket and try to figure out where I am. So I'm in the Redford Peaks tramway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what you see here is a windy storm outside, which kind of chills this entire open-faced structure. In the corner, huddled together, are 4 young adults, 20-somethings, and a very concerned-looking, what you assume to be a tramway operator, nearby a series of machinery, just kind of looking around, and they make eye contact with you and beckon you over.
Oh, okay. I cautiously walk over to the group. The operator first, he looks official. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, he looks somewhat official, but he looks extremely worried. He has the face of a man who's about to get sued, or is afraid of it at least. And he sees you, he's like, "Oh, Inspector, how fortuitous that you were here and exactly in a moment when we needed you." So what we have here is 5 people got on this tramway, and then 4 came off. And if you could help us figure that out, that'd just be great.
5 people came on got on the tramway. 4 people got off. Okay. So many questions. First of all, what's your name, sir?
My name is Gabe Thicket.
Gabe Thicket. Now, when you say 5 got on, 4 got off, is the 5th person missing? Is their body on the tram, or
their body is missing? I mean, I guess you're the expert here, so if you think they're dead already, then yeah, like the body has yet to be found. The people who got off, they're being a little dodgy. I was hoping you'd kind of be able to get more information out of them, but All I know is on the other side, the operator saw 5 people get onto the ride at the top of the mountain, and here at the base, 4 got off, and they kind of seemed out of it. But it looks kind of like they're returning to lucidity, I guess.
Okay. Okay. About how long ago did they leave?
The tram ride was about 45 minutes, and they
Okay.
got back here maybe 30 minutes ago.
Okay. So 45-minute tram ride, and in that amount of time, one person disappeared. Okay, I think I'd like to go speak to the young adults. Uh, First of all, before I leave, Gabe, who are these people? Are they just tourists? Or are they regular visitors? Are they locals?
He kind of shrugs. He's like, I mean, I don't know them personally, but from what I've heard from them so far, they're local. They're skiers.
Okay.
Just a group of friends.
Okay.
Um, that's all I got for you.
All right. I will approach the group of 4 young adults, huddled around, introduce myself as the inspector, and ask, first of all, who's missing? That's my first question. And then I want to get a general look at who they all are. I ask them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, before they tell you about who went missing, kind of the general lay of the land here is on the left there is a girl with red puffy eyes. It looks like she's been crying, but she has an awful lot of makeup for a ski trip. It looks like she cares about her looks, and she introduces herself as Carmen Santa Maria.
Carmen.
Carmen Santa Maria. She's 25. Next to her is a very gawky, nervous-looking boy. He's 22. He's kind of like constantly wringing his hands like a nervous habit. And he has a turtleneck that almost covers his chin because it's so high. And he introduces himself as Easton Holman.
Easton. Okay.
Immediately next to Easton, she is wearing like a tank top without sleeves, even though it's like absolutely freezing in here. She seems pretty comfortable outside. And she introduces herself as West Holman and sees the look in your eye when she says that, and she's like, yeah, I'm his brother, gesturing to Easton. And she's 28.
Okay.
I don't know if ages are helpful. I don't know if people say their age when I'm assuming that you want, a little bit of basic information about each of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And then finally on the end is this hulking figure. He's 6'5",
Ooh.
and he introduces himself as Asher Davis. He looks like he's a bodybuilder.
Ooh, okay.
And he is 29.
Okay, cool.
So when you ask who went missing, West is the one who speaks up, and she says, his name was, I'm not sure, it was Caden. He was a friend.
Okay. When you say missing, what do you mean missing? How could he go missing?
They all kind of look at each other, and they're like, missing? Like, he must have fell off somewhere along the way.
And none of you noticed?
They all shake their heads no.
Okay. I'd like to talk to people one at a time just to try to get their story straight. I'll start with Carmen on the left. Take her over to a separate corner of the tramway and ask her. So basically the setup. So he was there when you got on the tram at the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she starts from the beginning. She says, "Well, She says, I was dating Caden. I was his girlfriend. I want to go on this ski trip with my friends, Easton and West, not East and Weston. Oh boy, I did this to myself. She says, I was going to go on a ski trip with my friends. Caden sort of invited himself because he really likes skiing. And I was skiing out there with West, and Asher and I did some of the Black Diamond ski slopes.
Oh, okay.
Easton is more of a beginner, so he was on the bunny slopes, and Caden went with him. And I don't know, once we were done skiing, there's a little like ski village up there, so we kind of hung around. Then we got on the aerial tramway, and we were just exhausted. So we were mostly just kind of chilling. I think I fell asleep for a bit there, and then by the time we kind of felt the cart jiggling because it was getting close to the end. We looked around and the count was off. So I don't know.
So you didn't notice Caden was gone until you arrived down here.
She nods.
Okay. Was all his gear gone as well? Or just him and his skis?
She gestures over towards a bag in the corner. She's like, "No, I mean his stuff is all still here. It was still all in the tramway."
And were you sitting next to him in the tram, or was he sitting by himself? Where was he when you last remember?
She says, "I mean, we moved around a little bit, but for most of the time, I was sitting in a booth across from Asher." And she kind of describes the layout to you of this tram. It's a fairly large tram, and it's primarily broken up into four different compartments of sorts, like little, like a corner booth in a restaurant. Each of them kind of have separating walls.
Okay.
So there's a bit of privacy in between them. She says that she was sitting in the booth that is directly across from the door where you enter the tramway.
Gotcha.
I mean, enter the gondola.
Okay. At some point, I'm going to make a note. Examine gondola. I want to see if there's any other exits on this thing. Okay. I turn back to Carmen. Okay. Do you have any idea what might have happened? Do you think he left by choice?
She kind of sniffles and she's like, I mean, Caden was foolhardy at best, and I mean, I can only assume that something happened and he fell. He he might have been drunk. I mean, we were kind of partying, so I don't know if he was in his right mind or what. But oh, what a shame! And she cries in a way that sounds authentic, but I can't do that, so I won't try.
Fair, fair. You mentioned he might have fallen off. Uh, is there a railing? Like, how did the doors open from the inside, or is there? How do you think he fell off a moving gondola?
Her eyes kind of dart around. She's like, I mean, there's a balcony.
A balcony. Okay. Oh, one more thing. Did you notice anything off about Caden's behavior leading up to this?
I mean, he usually lets me hang out with my friends without coming along, so I was a little annoyed that he insisted on coming. And I was also a little surprised that he went skiing with Easton, since Caden is. I mean, Caden actually invited Asher to come on the trip with him, and usually they like hitting up the steepest slopes. Like he's really into skiing. So I was a little surprised that he went just on the bunny hills with Easton. But I mean, besides that, he was just his normal self. He wasn't acting weird.
Okay, good to know. I might have more questions. In the meantime, don't leave the tramway.
She's like, okay.
Cool.
At this point, Gabe sort of signals to you, and he's like, "Hey, so we've actually the gondola is on its way back. We're just a few minutes from it docking here again. It usually automatically just leaves back up the other way, depending on what the operators decide to do. But we're gonna have theirs come so you can investigate it."
Okay. Thank you, Gabe. While that's coming down, I would like to quickly, before I talk to the others, look through Caden's bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Caden has this kind of ski duffel bag. You don't actually see any skis. It's possible that he rented
Hmm.
skis at the top because there are facilities for that. But he does have ski poles or ski pole ski pole singular. There's only one. Um, Otherwise, he actually has a 6 pack of beers in there with 2 beers removed. But otherwise, there's not really anything of interest.
Okay, cool. Keep that in mind. Um, I'm going to talk to Easton, pull him over to the corner, and ask him as well. So You entered the gondola with Caden.
Yeah.
Cool. And what happened on the way down?
Uh, Not much. It's a pretty short ride.
Well, long enough for someone to go missing. Did you notice anything?
No, I was sitting in the corner booth. Across from it was, I mean, the another corner booth, but otherwise I didn't really have a sight at either of the doors.
Either of the doors. The door leading out to the balcony and the door out?
Right. The door leading out and the door to the balcony. And I know that the door leading out can't be opened during the thing, so like I don't think it's possible that he left through there. But I mean, it can't have been anything bad because like I didn't hear a scream. Like I feel like I would have remembered if there was screaming or something, but so I just think he maybe he just yeeted himself off.
I think he threw himself off. Well, while you were skiing with him earlier, did you notice anything odd? Did he seem suicidal at all?
He actually looks really nervous when you ask about this, and he's like, "No, no, not at all."
Are you sure? Was there anything? What did you talk about while you were skiing? Did you talk at all, or?
He's like, we're not really friends, so like we didn't actually talk that much.
Interesting, but you're not friends, and yet he chose to go on the bunny hills with you? That seems a little odd.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Hmm. I don't trust Easton. Um. Okay. And when did you first notice that he was missing?
Um, I think it was West that first said, "Hey, we're about to dock," and then Carmen said, "Wait, where's Caden?" So it was kind of the two of them that noticed.
Mm, okay. Other than Caden disappearing, was this a pretty normal trip?
He nods his head, yes.
Um, how well did you know Caden? You said you didn't
Um,
really know him well, but he's on this trip with you.
well enough. Carmen and me and West have been friends since we were kids, and she's been dating Caden for a couple years now, maybe like 3 or 4 years.
Mm,
So uh, we knew him tangentially,
gotcha.
but I mean we didn't have a lot in common, so we wouldn't hang out a lot.
Gotcha. Hmm. So your guess is that he threw himself out.
Yeah, I don't know if he was like suicidal, but he might have just been uh uh out of it. Maybe he leaned too far over the railing.
Did you notice him drinking when you guys were up at the top of the mountain?
Yeah, I mean like everyone pretty much was. So it wasn't like weird or anything. It's not like he was a drunk.
Yeah. Did he seem to have enough to be drunk or just tipsy or hard to
He's like
tell?
I really couldn't say. I don't think he was drunk.
Okay. I'll have some more questions later, Easton.
Okay,
Stick around. Stick around.
I will.
Okay. I'm gonna pull West aside next.
She's the first one who looks like she's kind of like, yeah, I've been interrogated before.
Hmm.
Not that isn't necessarily true, but she just seems really cool and collected.
Put together. Okay. Okay. But not necessarily suspiciously so.
I mean, you're the one who decides if
Hmm.
things are suspicious.
Let's see. She is wearing a tank top and she's super chill and it's freezing. Interesting. Um, okay. I'm going to ask Wes similar questions. When did she first notice that Caden was gone?
So first off, she kind of corroborates all of what you've heard so far as the timeline before they got on. She explains that yes, it was Caden and Easton that went by themselves. And then the three other ones, Asher, her, and Carmen, were waiting by the tramway for a while for the other two to arrive. Then they all met up, and it was getting dark. They got on the tram, and West explained, she's like, "Yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time paying attention to what other people are doing. I was really just vibing."
Okay. This, even though you didn't super pay attention, was there anything odd that you noticed about Caden's behavior? I know you didn't know him super well, but
Yeah, I mean, it was odd that Carmen was dating him at all.
oh,
Like,
why so?
because he was an absolute jerkwad.
Oh,
Listen, man, everyone tolerated Caden at best. I don't know. He's not. If you met him, you would know. And I know this is an awful thing to say about someone who's deceased, and probably an even worse thing to say to an inspector asking about a suspicious disappearance. But listen, man, I just got to say it how it is. Like
he was a
he
jerk.
wasn't well liked by most of us.
Oh, interesting. And yet Carmen was dating him. Do you know how that happened?
She kind of sighs and is like, in some relationships, it's pretty unhealthy, but people prefer to be in an unhealthy relationship rather than a healthy single ship, let's say. So I think that there were factors that encouraged her to stay within a relationship when it really wasn't the best choice.
Hmm, gotcha. And none of you really knew Caden before he started dating Carmen?
No, I knew him.
How did you know him before?
Oh, we dated for like a year or two, but that was like 5 years ago or something. That was a while ago.
You and Caden dated?
Yeah, I mean, I said I didn't like him. That should make it clear enough, right? Like, we broke up. It was messy.
Did you break it off or did he break it off?
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay. Was it weird to see him again?
I mean, he's been dating Carmen for a few years now, and Carmen and me and Weston, sorry, Easton, me, Carmen, and Easton, childhood friends. Like, so we've always, I've always been good friends with Carmen. So yeah, like I said, we tolerated him.
Tolerated him at best. Okay. Interesting. And what about Asher? Did you know anything about Asher?
I've seen him around a few times. He's Caden's lackey friend. I don't know. I think they have some business endeavors together.
Okay.
Occasionally, I'll see him show up to my gym.
You own a gym.
Well, I don't own a gym. I'm just a personal trainer, but so I work at a gym.
Oh, dang it. I forgot to ask. What does Caden do? Do you know?
She kind of shrugs and she's like, I don't know. Have you heard of like drop shipping?
Drop shipping. I do not know what
It's
that.
like where you buy stuff online and then you sell it to other people for more money. Basically, what every business does, except it's you literally do nothing. You just have a landing page and a website. It's a whole thing. Look it up.
Drop shipping. Okay. One last question. Uh, so- hmm. Is Caden an experienced skier?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'd say so.
why do you think he went on the bunny hills with Easton?
She kind of shrugs. She's like, couldn't tell you. I mean, apparently he wanted to. I think that that's something that Easton will have to tell you. And if he hasn't said it yet, then I don't know what the kid's doing. My brother's a little
Uh,
weird.
okay. Okay. Easton is hiding something. Okay. Um, I'm going to leave West for now, and I'll talk to Asher quick, and then I'll follow up with Easton. Oh, then also the gondola. Okay. Okay. Asher. I'll take Asher aside, and first of all, ask him again to corroborate everyone's stories that check out with his version of events, and then again, when did he notice Caden's disappearance before the end of the gondola ride or not?
Yeah, he corroborates who is skiing with who. Um, he also says that he didn't notice Kaden until the very end when Carmen noticed, and kind of shrugs and he's like, "Yeah, we were really out of it, just partying it up in there, and not really totally top of mind in a state of mind to really notice things like that."
Okay, cool. Was the gondola ride rough at all, or was it pretty smooth in terms of like rockiness?
It's like, I mean, it was a little rocky back and forth. Like the wind whistling was like pretty loud, so it was kind of like we had to like raise our voices when we were talking to each other.
Okay. That could mask some struggling or screaming, possibly. Okay. Um, did you at any point see Caden go out to the balcony?
He says, "Well, I mean, I was sitting in a booth across from Carmen, so the really the only thing I remember is yeah, he did walk past the booth because all of us were kind of we had the entire tram to ourselves, so
Mm,
and that's unusual. It was like a pretty big tram, so we were all kind of just wandered around doing our thing, and so I definitely saw him pass by, like kind of towards the direction of the balcony door. So,
gotcha.
but I don't even remember when that was. It was probably earlier on, probably like I don't know, 5-10 minutes into the thing.
Okay. Did Caden seem out of sorts at all to you?
No,
Nothing odd.
hmm.
Um, who planned this trip, by the way? Do you know?
um, I think it was Carmen. She planned it for her friends. I don't really know any of the three of them very well, but Caden was invited, so he invited me to join him.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Why didn't he ski with you if he invited you?
Oh, I think that he had some stuff to get off his chest. I wanted to talk to with
Ooh.
Easton.
Okay, he has some beef with Easton. Okay, cool. All right. Don't leave town. Um, I'm going to
At this point, you hear the ker-chunk of the gondola arrive.
Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna go expect the gondola, but as I'm stepping onto it, I do want to look at the mountain. So at the gondola path, it goes over mountain. Does it go over like trees? Is it just a plain white slope? Basically, can I see a body from where I am, or does it look pretty obscured?
From where you are, you cannot see a body, but it looks like most of the way is somewhat clear. Like there is at least one slope that kind of follows the trail of this tramway. So it's mostly snow without trees, and it's mostly just a diagonal slope up to the top.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I'm going to talk to Gabe and ask him to send someone from the top of the mountain down the mountain and see if they can sweep the area for the body.
He nods and he's like, "Yeah, we'll get several people on that. Sure."
Okay, cool. So Gabe is doing a sweep, um, and I am going to examine the gondola.
Okay, so you walk in the door, and to your left and right are booths, and in front of you, directly across the gondola, is another booth. To the left corner is a fourth booth, and in the right corner is the stairway and the doorway to the upper balcony, which sits on top of the gondola.
Oh, there's an upper balcony up. Okay. I'm going to uh look dig through the booth, see if there's anything left behind before I go up to the balcony.
Hmm. As you walk in, first thing that hits you is a very strong smell in here.
Oh.
It's kind of like rotten fruit mixed with skunk.
Does it smell like certain drug?
Yes, it
Ah,
sure does.
interesting. Thinking back to the people, did any one of them smell like that stronger than the others?
You think hard about it, and it's difficult to point out, but probably Asher. And as you're thinking about this smell, you do find in one of the booths, kind of under the corner of one of the chairs, there are multiple chairs in each booth. You find just the last little stub of some. It looks like a part of a blunt.
Okay. Okay, so there was a reason people were pretty out of it, especially Asher. Okay. Um okay. I poke around Easton's booth specifically. Anything odd or just empty?
Nope, just empty.
Okay. Then I will go up the balcony and to the top.
So you get to the balcony door, and it is locked. You're able easy enough to get a key card from Gabe,
Oh.
but Gabe actually explains to you. He's like, yeah, the balcony is only accessible if you go with an operator on board. For security reasons, we don't allow people to access the balcony unless we have one of our operators on the tram.
Oh. Was there an operator on this particular tram?
He looks at his clipboard. He's like, no, it was just them when they got off.
How does an operator allow access to that? Just a key card?
Key card. Yeah, everyone has a key card. It has their name on it.
Is anyone's missing?
He's like, he takes a radio and goes, Ksh, anyone missing a key card? And no hits. No one.
Okay. I'm going to investigate up at the top anyway, and then see if I can see a different way to get up there.
Okay, so you go up to the balcony. The balcony is about half as large as the entire tramway. It actually sort of sits above the cables. The way that this tram works is the cables are kind of on either side of the gondola, which leads to, above the cables, an unobscured view of the mountain.
Ah, beautiful.
And it would be if it wasn't. It's still pretty like windy and overcast, and at this point it's dark outside. But looking on this balcony, you're just doing a regular old scan.
Yeah. Is it chairs? Was it just railing? What am I looking at?
No chairs up here. The entire top is surrounded by a 4-foot tall banister. And as you're looking on the ground, you see a small rubber ringlet of sorts. It kind of looks like a washer, and it's about maybe an inch and a half in diameter.
Okay. Small rubber ringlet.
Yeah, kind of like a donut shape.
Okay. Would I recognize what that is, i.e., does it look like something off a ski pole?
Yeah, that is entirely possible.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna look around for a ski pole somewhere on the top of the balcony.
No such object, but as you're scouring the ground, you do see on one of the balconies, or nearby one of the railings, just a few drops of blood.
Okay, I'm examining that railing real close. Can I see anything else? Do I see tracks in the blood? Is it just drops of blood? Is it on the railing, on the ground? Is it dripping off the side?
Yeah, this blood, you would miss it if you weren't looking so closely for it. It is on the ground, maybe 6 inches to a foot away from the railing. And examining where the railing is, you actually can like look over the railing, and you can see on the other side of the railing, you see just a faint bit of similar blood on the outside of the railing.
Okay.
So the railing itself doesn't really have much blood, but on the other side, there is some.
So, Caden went over the railing. Okay. Oh. Hit bludgeoned with a ski pole. I'm examine the little rubber ringlet. Any blood on that?
No.
Okay. He's stabbed with the ski pole. That would be so. Cause he's missing a ski pole. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Looking around the ground and the railing, can I see any other signs of a skirmish? Any, I don't know, knocked over bottles or footprints with scuffle marks?
You see some scuff marks on the ground, but it's hard to tell if that was from this group or another group. There's not really any direct signs of a scuffle.
Okay, cool. Then I'm going to look and see if I can find any other ways of entering the balcony. So, for example, do any of the windows in the lower area open? Could some have scaled up and over?
The windows have kind of hatches where you can open them up a bit.
Mm,
They do not open enough for a human to crawl through.
okay,
You assume for safety reasons.
yeah, makes sense. Looking at the door I came through, did it look like it was forced at all?
It did not, no.
Okay,
At least there was no evidence of that.
not forced. Again, examining the door, can I see any signs that it didn't lock properly, i.e., tape or gum stuck in the locking? Okay,
You don't see any tampering.
no tampering. Uh, no tampering of door. Smell of marijuana, I assume, is not as strong up here, or if at all.
Yeah, not as strong.
Okay, but I don't see any leftover joints on the ground. Okay.
Mm-mm. No, but actually, looking for a little bit more, I would say that inside the cabin, scouring for it, you actually can see little bits of the inner workings of a blunt. I don't have the vocabulary for this, but like looking out for it, you notice a bit of ash.
Okay.
And it's not just in the one booth; it's actually in three of the four booths.
Okay. So someone's passing it around. Okay, cool. One last sweep of the inner cabin. Any blood down there?
Not that you see, no.
Okay, cool. I am going to step out of the gondola and go back to Easton. Pull him aside again. And
He perspirates. It probably means he was hydrated well.
so you're lying about being shipwrecked and thirsty for 3 days.
No! You got me.
Okay, Easton, sir, I was talking to West, and she said that there was a very specific reason that Caden went skiing with you. Care to elaborate on that?
West said that?
Yes, she did. Asher also had some interesting things to say, but I think I'd prefer to get it directly from the horse's mouth.
He sighs. He's like, and he reaches up where his turtleneck is, and he pulls it down, and he shows you on his neck is a fine cut, about 2 inches across.
Oh, how did that happen?
A knife?
A knife? No! What do you mean a knife?
He's like, well, Caden, I was just gonna ski alone on the bunny slopes, and Caden said he'd join me. And as soon as we were alone, he took out his knife and he held it up against me, and he said if I stepped onto his girl anymore, he would kill me.
Oh my gosh!
It's like, and I don't like how that sounds, saying that to an inspector in a presumably a murder case.
Yeah. Were you stepping onto his girl?
You say that, and it looks like he's about to like break down in tears. He's like, "Camden and I are friends. I, okay, I admit it. I have feelings for." Did I say Camden? It's Carmen. He's like, yeah. They're so close. They get their names wrong sometimes. That's how you know it's a real
Cute,
real spicy, cute. Yeah. Uh-huh. Anyway, he kind of pours out his soul. He's like, "Look, I do really like her. I like Carmen a lot, but I would never. Caden could have killed me any number of ways. Like this entire time, he's a big man. He's a big, scary guy. I would never do anything untowards to either of them.
Okay.
Like I had feelings, but we were just friends.
Just friends. Just friends. So is Caden also a bodybuilder like Asher?
He sort of nods. He's like, yeah. I think that they. I mean, if not a bodybuilder, he definitely cared about his physique.
Okay, cool. One last thing about the cut. Is it deep enough that it would be dripping, i.e., would it be the blood that I found on would it be possible to be the blood that I found on top of the balcony?
It is deep enough to be blood. Sorry, to bleed. But besides that,
So it's not
it
like
is
soaking through the turtleneck or something.
it's not soaking through the turtleneck, but you do notice he pulls the turtleneck back up, and you see that there is a very fine cut along the turtleneck. So it's not like Caden pulled
Oh.
down his turtleneck. He
Oh.
held the knife up to his throat.
Oh my gosh. And Easton, you didn't do anything to defend yourself when someone had a knife to your neck and actually cut you with it?
I mean, what would you do? I told the truth. I said I'm not going to do anything. I promise. And he just wouldn't let go. We were on that mountainside for like a long time, where he was
And that he was just ranting at you.
yeah. He said that he would cut me again if I ever did anything.
You realize that is assault, and you can do something about that.
No thanks. Well, I mean, I can do something now. If you wanna file a report for me, I won't. I
I'll
wouldn't
be there in a
mind.
minute. File report for Easton. Okay. Was there anything else that he talked about while he was threatening you, or is this simply just about Carmen?
He's like, I can't remember really any other specifics.
Hmm.
He was just trying to like lay out the evidence of how he was on to me.
What evidence did he have?
Oh, just that that Carmen wanted to go on the ski trip with me, so he knew that she was like reciprocating something. And he said that he came on the ski trip to make sure that nothing happened in between us.
And did anything happen? Anything that even could have been construed as suspicious?
No, absolutely not. Besides, I mean, Caden is missing now, but like, so that's pretty weird. But like, me and Carmen, there was nothing there. I wasn't even with her. I didn't even sit next to her on the tram. Like, I didn't ski with her. We got to the tram, and I didn't even sit with her.
That's it. Okay. One last thing. Did you partake in the drugs that were being passed around the gondola?
He turns like pale, super pale, and he's like, "Yeah, is that bad?"
Who else was also partaking? Do you know? Did you notice?
He sighs. He's like, "Everyone." The reason that they took the tram by itself was because they wanted to hotbox in there.
Who arranged this? How? Yeah, who was in charge of getting the tram? How did they get it?
He's like, "Well, I mean, Caden and I arrived late, so I don't know which of the other three specifically set it up, but I knew that they were all in on it."
Okay. One last thing, Easton. In your time on the tram, do you know of a way to get on the balcony without a key card?
He shakes his head no. He's like, "I don't know. I guess I didn't think too much about it."
Okay. Get that cut fixed up. I'll be back momentarily.
He whimpers.
I'm going to ask Gabe really quick if he knows of any way that people have gotten onto the top of a tram without a key card.
As you're doing this, he's on the radio. He's like, "Yeah, no. Get a ski mobile. Get a snowmobile. Get a snowmobile and get here right away." And he turns to you. He's like, "We found the body."
Dun dun dun. Oh my gosh.
A message from the curator. East and west, but which to trust? Before this scene is snow and dust. Euros hides a scar of rage, but which one murdered K off stage?